Sometimes apologies are actually not for the person who has been hurt. Sometimes apologies are for the person who did the hurting so that they are able to move forward. A guy I was dating this is so funny, for a month ghosted me 2 months ago. And I didn't bother to follow up because, well, we both kind of knew that we didn't like each other enough. He was really hot though, so I wouldn't have minded having something casual. Fast forward 2 months to now, and he's decided to call me randomly out of the blue. And when I asked his reason for calling, he said that he's been reflecting and he felt really bad that he ghosted me and he wanted to formally tell me that he didn't think we were compatible. He then went into the...
All right, Trevor.
He then went into the reasons why we wouldn't work out. I don't know what's worse, being ghosted or having a ghost pop back up to tell you why he ghosted you. I had a little hope that he wanted to try dating again, but he literally just doubled down on why he thought we wouldn't work out. Any thoughts on what's worse? Fucking hell.
I actually don't know.
At least you've got your closure.
There's part of me that sort of respects it a little bit. Like we've all said ghosting is so shitty. There's nothing worse. But it's a very clear message that I'm not interested. Because, I've wiped you from my mind, from my life, from my Instagram, the carrier pigeon. I'm not sending that anymore. You don't exist anymore. There's no clearer message than a ghost, right?
Which I think is so funny because most of the time people go, I just haven't had closure because I got ghosted. I'm like, babe, that's as much closure as you ever need.
The door doesn't close anymore.
It's so much
It's
closure.
bolted shut. The shit is closed. But then there's a part of me that's like, okay, maybe this is a turning point for this man. And maybe you were prepping him to go out into the wild for other women. Maybe he's had a conversation with a friend. Maybe someone's ghosted him. Maybe he's listened to Life Uncut. I don't know. But he's had a realization for whatever reason that what he did was shit. So I think he's done the right thing. He's like, do you know what? She was actually great. I'm just going to let her know why I did what I did and why it's not going to work out. I understand.
So stupid.
I understand that you feel really shit. But in a way, you are leaving the world in a better place because you're making this man better for a woman moving forward. I mean, no one needs to double down, but
no one wants to be the test dummy though. No one wants to be the one
Story
that
of my
that springboards someone to be a better man. I actually interpret this and maybe this will make you feel better about yourself. I think that this is the hallmark of someone who has an inflated sense of their own ego. I'm like, you think you are so important. You think that I have spent 2 months pining over the fact that you stopped talking to me. You even said to yourself...
2 months? I didn't even hear
it's
that
been
part.
2 months. You even said, I didn't bother following up because we both kind of knew that we didn't like each other enough. You also don't like this guy. You know you don't like this guy.
You dated him for half of the time that he ghosted you.
And then he had the audacity to call you 2 months later and be like, I'm so sorry. I know that you're so bereft. I know you haven't been able to move on and I've thought about my actions and I just want to let you know that it's you and not me.
I've also sent you some Kleenex to your house because you're probably crying. That is actually so funny. 2 months of silence. Thought he could actually also be paper clipping you or breadcrumbing you. Paper clipping, I don't want to brag. It's a new term I just dropped in there.
Wow. I'd never heard about it. I was really impressed.
Thank you. Paper clipping. It's a dumb term anyway. But it just basically means that it's the same as every other term. But it's just
leaving you for later.
He just pops back in to let you know he's a good guy and he's still there in case he changes his mind in another 2 months. If another 2 months goes past and he wants to come back and be like, do you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe we should pick it back up. You can't do that if you've ghosted, but if you've been respectable and you're like, hey, you are great. It's just that I'm just not convinced it's going to work out. In 2 months, if he then comes back and he goes, do you know what? I've been thinking maybe we can give it a go. You'd be like, fuck yeah, come on over. But if there wasn't that in between and there was just a ghosting, I mean, this is what I would do. I would be more inclined.
Call someone up to do it. I'm so sorry. Just wanted you to know that actually... I've been thinking about it and I don't think we should date anymore.
No, I mean, if I was the girl, if someone had ghosted me and came back months later and been like, yeah, you know what, let's give it another go, I'd be like, no, you're a dick. I haven't heard from you. But if they respectfully came back to say, hey, I realized what I did wasn't right, if they then came back to meet up, I'd be like, yeah, because you were so good about it a couple of months ago. So I feel like he's covering his bases, but fuck that.
Britt, you are such an amber flag, just yourself.
I am.
And you're like, I know that what he's done is wrong. I know that he's
Look at what I'm wearing today. I am a giant pink flag.
You're a giant pink flag.
Yeah.
I read this and I think this guy has such a big ego, but I also think that you are letting ego get in the way as well, because you've literally said you didn't care because you knew you weren't right for each other. But then when he popped back up and he called you again, you said that you kind of had a little bit of hope that maybe he wanted to try dating again. You don't like this guy. You actually don't want to date him again, but you want him to want you. That's all that is. Like, you want him to have not taken that decision away from you. And I get it. We all want to feel like we are the one who gets to make the pick. But in this instance, I would just say, like, okay, thanks for the call. Please don't call me
also,
again.
who calls? Send a text. Like, if you're just doubling down on why you don't want to date someone, it doesn't have to be a physical phone call.
Okay, so I agree with that. But the other thing, I kind of want to just move this question into another sort of camp. So apologies, right? I know that it's really great when people apologize for the things that they've done to hurt you. That is a really important step in healing. However, sometimes apologies are actually not for the person who has been hurt. Sometimes apologies are for the person who did the hurting so that they are able to move forward. And I say this because many years ago, I had a girlfriend who, it was so inappropriately. So it was my sister's first wedding, actually. Like, she's got divorced. She's been married
25 times.
She's been married twice. But we were in our early 20s, and one of my sister's friends told a huge lie. She got very, very drunk, and she told a lie that her mother had passed away, right? Which was completely... It's crazy. It is another level of crazy.
That's
right?
also so easy to prove.
So wait for it. So she was trying to hit on my boyfriend at the time who was there. I caught her trying to make out with my boyfriend.
I'd be using the term
I was
friend
so
loosely.
Obviously, yeah, wait for the story. It's fucking wild. So I was so off it. I was so upset. Anyway, she then came to me in tears, in hysterics, and was like, look, my mum's passed away. Please don't tell Alicia because I don't want to ruin her wedding. Anyway, my sister went back to France because that's where she was living. Literally a year and a half passed. And I said to Alicia, how is this girl? Like, it's so horrible what happened to her mum. And she's like, what are you talking about? And then the whole story came out, and obviously it wasn't true. So my sister then obviously approached her. It was a wild, stupid story. Years later, she went to AA. This girl definitely had a problem with alcohol, and that was a huge impacting factor in the reason why she behaved the way that she behaved.
Yeah.
She called years later to apologize. And I was like, I'm not even with that guy anymore, firstly. But I was like, I didn't need that apology. I had moved on from it. That apology wasn't for me. Yeah. That apology was for her and for her ability to move on. And I know that that is important and that had value, but it didn't do anything for me. And so sometimes I think even with this sort of situation, his apologizing or his trying to make good with you actually isn't for you at all. It's so that he can clear his conscience. And I would say if that's the reason why you're apologizing to someone, if it's got nothing to do with them and it's 100% about you, does it do damage by calling and giving that apology? Are you going to leave them in a worse place by bringing up something that they don't want to think about and they've moved on from?
Yeah, and to be clear, he didn't apologize. He just wanted to formally tell her why it wasn't going to work. There was no apology.
I know. I don't know if my sister will be annoyed about me telling that story. Nah, fuck it. It's so many years ago. She wouldn't care.
Fuck it.
It's like another life. Whatever.
Yeah,
it's a statutory declaration. Is that what it's called?
No, that's not it. It's a statute of limitations and you get it wrong every time.
It's 10 years ago. It's fine.